Good morning, everyone. Thank you for accepting our invitation to take part in the first press conference organized by the the Independent Evaluation Commission that assesses the candidates to self-governance bodies. As we call it, the Pre-Vetting Commission. The title of today's press conference is Pre-Vetting Commission. Last updates and next steps. My name is Elena Prokhnitsky. I am the head of secretariat of the Pre-Vetting Commission, and today I am the moderator of this event. Today's press conference is divided into two parts. At the beginning, the members of the Pre-Vetting Commission will introduce themselves and will provide you information about the next steps, mission of the Commission in the context of strengthening integrity and accountability in the justice sector of Moldova, preparatory work, including the core internal documents that were approved, and preliminary calendar of next steps and activities. I would like to mention that this event is streamed live on the Pre-Vetting Commission's Facebook page and YouTube page, and can be watched there. And I would like to kindly ask you, before we start the conference, please have your phones turned off or in silent mode. This was the introduction. Now I would like to give a floor to the chairperson of the Commission, Mr. Herman von Hebel, and then the other members of the Commission to introduce themselves and some information about latest activities of the Commission.
Thank you very much, Elena, and welcome to all of you this morning. Indeed, as Elena has indicated, since this is the very first time that we as a Pre-Vetting Commission are going public, it would be good to get started with a brief introduction of each of our members of the Commission. And after that introduction, we will give you an update on what we have been doing so far and what our plans are for the coming months and for the implementation of our mandate. Let me start briefly by myself. My name is Herman van Hebel. I'm a Dutch lawyer. I've been working in the field of human rights, international criminal law, etc. for over 35 years. I've worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Netherlands, worked on cases before the European Court of Human Rights, have participated in the establishment of the International Criminal Court, have worked in 4 different international criminal tribunals in different parts of the world, the former Yugoslav Republic, Sierra Leone, Lebanon, International Criminal Court itself. And over the last years, I've really been focusing on the development and the strengthening of the rule of law in different countries, including Ukraine, Georgia, and of course also in Moldova. My colleagues here around the table have elected me at the first meeting as a chair. Don't ask me why, but anyway, they did so. And with that, I would like to pass on to my deputy, so to say, Tatiana, for her introduction.
Good morning, everyone. I am Tatiana Raducanu, resigned judge. Why did I accept to be a member of a Evaluation Commission? Because I support Moldova's aspirations to access to the European Union, and we have potential, and we have diligent, hard-working, loyal people. And joining the EU means having reforms in the justice sector, because justice means, well, justice should be fair and independent and ensuring rule of law. Evaluation of the integrity of judges and prosecutors is part of the justice reform in order to rebuild the trust of the society towards the act of justice, towards everything related to justice. I will make all possible effort to make sure that I will invest all my knowledge and my experience in this field in order to fulfill my mandate, to fulfill the tasks set for the Pre-Vetting Commission, meaning a correct, fair, transparent evaluation of judges and prosecutors. Thank you.
I'm an attorney from California in the United States, and from 1990 until 2017, I served as the Director and Chief Counsel of the California Commission on Judicial Performance, which was still is the disciplinary body for California state court judges. We have about 1,500 judicial officers in California who are under the Commission's jurisdiction. I estimate that over those 27 years, I was responsible for supervising the disposition of between 20,000 and 25,000 complaints, many of which were not meritorious, and the matters that were meritorious ranged from, small-scale matters up to matters that resulted in the removal of the judge from office and sometimes criminal charges. One of the things that the Commission was responsible for was enforcing certain aspects of the asset disclosure requirements in California for judges. I have personal experience of filing asset declarations for 27 years, so the work ahead of us is something I'm quite familiar with. I have also, for the last 20 years, participated in various justice reform programs in Central and Eastern Europe involving everything from reviewing legislation, helping draft codes of ethics, helping train disciplinary staff in various countries. I was last here in Moldova in 2018 and assisted the newly established Judicial Advisory Committee under the SCM basically set up its procedures and get started. And one thing I hope to accomplish while I'm here is finding out how that's all worked out. It's an honor to serve on this committee, and I truly will do everything I can to work for its success and for the benefit for the people of Moldova. Thank you.
I would also like to greet you and to tell who I am. I am Vitalia Miron. I am a lawyer by education. I work in this field for around 11 years with not so much involvement in the justice sector compared to my colleagues, but I am confident that sometimes a different perspective towards one and the same subject is really important. And to this end, I will use my skills, my experience that I gathered along the years to the benefit and to the good result of our work. As I see, this issue is quite simple. People want justice without corruption. People want to trust the state institutions. And this is also part of my motivation. I also want to live in a truly state of law where and the way I understand it, and I believe that successful implementation of Law 26 is a huge step towards ensuring that. It is important to understand that this mechanism is implemented for the first time in Moldova. And this reform sometimes works slower than we would like it to, but I'm sure that this commission has full functional competence and it can provide results that will meet the expectations. Thank you.
Greetings to everyone. I'm Nonna Tsatsori. I served as a judge of the European Court of Human Rights for 10 years. Before my mandate, I was privileged to play a role in helping to reestablish my native Georgia as an independent state with strong public institutions. First, as an advisor and director of USAID-funded rule of law programs, and later on as a Deputy Prosecutor General of Georgia responsible for sweeping legal reforms. After my mandate ended in the court in 2018, I've been advising on rule of law, anti-corruption, and human rights in different countries, mostly in Ukraine. Most recently, I worked for the American Bar Association Rule of Law Initiative programs in Tunisia and Libya. As mentioned, I had an opportunity to play a role in the reform process and also to assess the challenges that the countries face during democratic transition. And needless to say that there is no sustained development unless the rule of law and human rights are protected. So I have strong belief, based on my personal experience, that without strong reforms in the justice system, it will be difficult to reform any other areas. So this is a crucial task. I'm privileged to be a part of this reform process, and I will do my best to make sure that the work of the Commission is successful and Moldova's integration in the European Union is a smooth process. So I'm looking forward really to work with my colleagues and with the Moldovan audience. I wish the Commission all the success. Thank you.
Last but not least.
Bună ziua! Eu mă numesc Nadejda Hriptievski.
Hello, I am Nadezhda Hriptievsky. I am a lawyer. I was trained initially in Moldova, and then I did my master's studies at the Central European University, and I worked for a couple of years in the Open Society Foundation Network, or as it is known here, Soros Foundation. Then I came back to the country and I continued to work in the field of reform of free state legal aid. Subsequently, together with some colleagues, I founded the Center for Legal Resources from Moldova, and I worked particularly in the field of justice reform. I was a member of the Commission Against Racism and Discrimination of the Council of Europe. This gave me an additional opportunity to work even more in the field of equality and non-discrimination. Recently, became a member of Anti-Corruption Committee as well. Since I came back to Moldova, I focused mostly on justice and procedural fairness, and now it's an honor for me to be a member of this commission, and I'm confident that all my experience that I have from a perspective of monitoring reforms, I could now apply in implementing actually our mandate. I am quite confident that we will be able to successfully implement our mandate, and as the pre-vetting process, as we call it for short, I hope all citizens will be able to enjoy its results. Because if judiciary and prosecution self-governance bodies work well, we have much more possibility for the entire judiciary and prosecution systems to work well. Thank you.
It concludes the presentation of the Commission, and as you can hear, there's a strong dedication, feeling of a privilege to be part of this Commission. I think that is what we share, all of us. We also share a huge amount of national, international experience in different fields of law, and I think we are all very, very strongly committed to improve and strengthen the rule of law and the independent and impartial functioning without corruption, as Vitaly clearly said, here in Moldova. It is a challenging task that is ahead of us, but I think with what we calculated yesterday, 166 years of experience, I think we are ready for the job. I would like to say a few words about what we have been doing so far up till today, and then after that Tatiana will take over in order to explain more the steps that are going to be lying ahead of us, and of course all the candidates afterwards. We started our work about 2 months ago in April, once we were elected by Parliament. And the first thing we had to do, of course, also according to the law that prescribes the work of our commission, is to develop our own rules of procedure. How are we going to work? How is our interaction with the candidates going to take place? We have, in addition to that, developed our own evaluation rules. So how are we going to undertake the evaluation for all candidates? I think it is very important that we provide a fair and transparent process for all candidates in the evaluation of both their financial and ethical integrity. We've also developed a rather detailed asset declaration form, which all the candidates have to fill in the moment we are going to ask them to do so within 7 days. We have already given them about 2 weeks ago what we call a sneak preview of that declaration form, in order to give them a heads up of what is waiting for them, but then also to get the feedback on whether there's any unclarities in the document or issues that we should look into as well. We have received a number of very constructive comments from candidates, and we have over the last couple of days been carefully studying that and adjusting our form here and there a bit. The overall structure remains the same, but we did take into consideration the comments that were provided. We've also identified a number of agencies in public law, private law here in Moldova that we will rely upon in terms of their information to be providing to us in order to assess the information that we get from the candidates, so that the information we get from the candidates and the information from all other sources, but also including civil society organization, investigative journalists, etc., the public at large here in Moldova, that we can compare the information that we have. And lastly, we have also developed an ethics questionnaire going into their professional ethics, questions about their professional ethics, that we are also going to send to the candidates in the course of next week, that we ask them to fill in the next 2 weeks as well. And that is also in order to give candidates an opportunity to show whether there might be any questions about their ethics, but also to show what their position is on that, so that it will assist us in a proper evaluation. That is what we have been doing so far, and I would like to pass on now to Tatiana to explain the way forward. What are the next steps that the Commission is going to undertake? Tatiana.
Yeah. Mulțumesc.
Thank you. Starting from the Commission's mandate, the Commission has a task that is not easy. We have to evaluate around 100 people. These are both candidates and family members, and they're people close to them. This will mean a huge amount of work, but before we start it, I would like to assure you that these last 2 months we worked on establishing regulations and evaluation procedure that are very clear, and these evaluation procedures will allow carrying out a fair and correct evaluation of judges and prosecutors. The next steps that we see in our activity are, as the chairperson said, the following. We will start by sending the ethics questionnaire to all candidates. So the ethics questionnaire is not explicitly provided for in Law 26 on pre-vetting, but the Commission decided that it is necessary because the Commission evaluates both the financial and the ethical integrity. This questionnaire will be sent to all candidates, and it includes questions about disciplinary sanctions, involvement in some wrongful doings. And well, we will analyze the results, the answers, and depending on the answers, we will see the ethical part of the candidates.
Next, the evaluation process itself will be conducted in several phases. First phase will be for the candidates for the members of the Superior Council of Magistracy, and this will happen at the beginning of July. We will send these candidates the form based on Article 9 of the law pre-vetting, the form for asset declaration and personal interest for themselves and for their relatives, and if they end to disclose any connection with the public service. And this statement was prepared and approved by the Commission. This is a different form that is included in the national law 133, and it contains some more detailed provisions regarding the lifestyle, expenses of the person, and other aspects that are interesting to us in order to evaluate that candidate. The declaration according to the law have to be completed in 7 days and sent in 7 days. And at the same time, the Commission will request from the public authorities, private authorities, banks, and other institutions, we will request relevant information regarding the candidates in order to create a full picture or a general painting, general image of the candidate. At the end of July, beginning of August, depending on the activity, but at the same time we will send the declaration to other candidates. And as I said, this process is phase by phase. And we plan that starting with the end of July, beginning of August, we anticipate that we will have to start the evaluation itself. According to the approved regulation by the Commission, we will invite for hearings. We will do the hearings, and we will invite all the candidates, of course, depending on the schedule of the hearings, and the hearings will be public, and the candidates have the right to have an attorney with them, a lawyer. They have the right to read the materials in the file. They have the right to give evidences, to provide explanation, and depending on the evidences accumulated and depending on the circumstances clarified, the Commission will decide whether the candidate passed the evaluation or did not, failed. In this sense, we will issue for every candidate a decision with a motivation where we will indicate all the circumstances, the motivation, and referral to the law, and the conclusion that the Commission reached for that candidate. According to the law, the Commission has 30 days to evaluate the candidates plus 15 days in case there is a need for accumulating additional information, more complicated information, and we hope that we will be successful, we will manage in this time frame. I hope that we will be able to do this in August so that in September we can speak about the possibility to have a new commission. After the General Assembly of the Judges, there will be selected individuals that the society needs. I'm referring to integral individuals which don't have any suspicion on them of being involved in something inappropriate, illegal activity, or corruptive activities. So we want to make that time. This is from my side. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, members of the Commission. Now that we have closed the introductory part, I propose to launch the Q&A session. My kind request is, before you ask a question, please introduce yourself so that the members of the Commission know who is asking the question. Thank you so much. Hello, Sergiu Gordish, Prime Television, Sergiu Gordish, Prime TV station. Madam Raducan, you said that in September the elections, the new members of Superior Council of Magistracy, but you didn't say anything about CSP. Prosecutors Superior Council. Well, thank you for the question. We will go in parallel. The thing is that there are many people, there are candidates, plus we need to evaluate the members of the family, close individuals. This is why it's good to go face by face. The first conclusion that we have is that we need to start with the Superior Council of Magistracy, which is in a difficult position, we think. This is why it's good to start with them. Then we continue in parallel with the Superior Council of Prosecutor, and we will go face by face. It's hard to say when we will finish because we don't know how much time we will need in order to accumulate additional information to do all of this work. Maybe there will not be issues with collecting data if the replies are going to be delivered on time according to the deadline provided by the law. Then we will be smooth sailing, but it's hard to anticipate all of this. But I think that the deadlines are reasonable and realistic. Okay, I have a follow-up. The candidates, so the persons that want to be a candidate, how does this process start? They come with a application to you? Okay, do you have a question for a specific member or for the entire Commission? Not a specific member, whoever wants to reply. Okay, then I will like to reply to your last question and to add a few more comments on the previous point. The list of all the candidates that enlisted for the vacancies are submitted to the relevant bodies. The Superior Council of Magistracy, for all the candidates that want to take part of the competition for this commission, and affiliated bodies like disciplinary college or performance evaluation college or commission, and the selection and career commission for the judges. So for the prosecutor side, again, we have all of these bodies and additional commissions board. So there are different boards and commissions that either select the candidates, the commission covering the ethics, and performance evaluation commission. All of these competitions call for CVs were announced, and the pre-vetting commission is only focusing on evaluating the integrity, the financial and ethical integrity of the candidates, the list of candidates that we have already received from these bodies. After we do the evaluation, after the pre-vetting commission evaluation takes place, the candidates will follow the procedure of selection, approval of every commission or board. We also have some members that are named by the parliament. Therefore, we need to have a list from the parliament, and then again, after the pre-vetting, this list goes back to the parliament, and then they decide who to name. And for example, now in the Supreme Council of Magistrates of Prosecutors, we have a call for candidates for a more research position. So again, we receive a list, we do the pre-vetting, and we send it back, and then they take a decision. If to speak about the deadlines or timeframes, in best case scenario, if everything is going to go smooth, if we will have a good cooperation with the public authorities, private authorities regarding data collection, then we envision by the end of September, the Commission will have the decisions. And then later, after this, the rest of the procedure is depending on the Superior Council of Magistracy, Superior Council of Prosecutors, and the Parliament, because they have to continue their own procedure in looking at the candidates, evaluating them, and approving them. Hello, Mariana Rață, TV8 TV station. I have several questions, not for a designated member, for all of them. My first question is, Madam Raducanu, you mentioned that after the verification, after the evaluation of the candidates, you will have a hearing, right? A discussion, an open meeting discussion. And this means that anybody that is interested can participate. So I would like to ask how you will ensure, how will you respect the right for privacy and for personal data protection, because I know that these candidates have not only themselves evaluated, but their family and their relatives. So how do we make sure that we are not sued after this for disclosing and not respecting their personal data?
One of the real challenges for the Commission is achieving that balance, and in having hearings that allow the Commission basically to engage in a vigorous fact-finding effort, but again, not violating privacy interests. One of the rules of procedure specifically requires that members in questioning at hearings do not violate the right of privacy to anything beyond the extent necessary to fulfill the Commission's fact-finding mission. So that will be a challenge for the members. Similarly, in the decisions that the Commission is expected to produce under the law, the Commission is required to make factual determinations and provide legal conclusions for its determinations. Necessarily, that's a challenge for the Commission in, once again, not violating rights of privacy and ensuring that there's not any greater disclosure than is required to fulfill providing a reasoned decision. But it's a big challenge for the Commission, and one we're already working on.
Încă câteva întrebări.
Okay, thank you. More questions. For us, it's not very clear if the candidates for the colleges are going to be going through the pre-vetting procedure or not. I understand that the priority are the two councils, right? The candidates for these two councils. And can you do a pre-vetting of candidates that are applying for colleges? Is this possible, or you are not going to do it? And when you will know for sure, because the members of the colleges are equally important as the members of these two commissions or councils, sorry.
I think if we don't have a translation issue here, which would probably be my fault, if we're referring to the subordinate bodies, such as the disciplinary body, the appointing body, yes, they have already filed applications to be candidates, to be vetted for those. And when we talked about sequencing, we were talking about, as the law contemplates, doing the members of the SCM and the SCP first, and then the subordinate bodies will follow, and that's when we talked about phasing, and that if we have completed the members of the superior councils, by end of August, beginning of September, then we would turn to the subordinate bodies, and if everything was going very smoothly, we might be able to start them so that we were doing them in tandem. It all depends how we're able to manage the numbers that we're dealing with.
Vor fi cu siguranță, da.
Da, vor fi cu siguranță și
Yes, and the Commission cannot refuse the pre-vetting of these candidates because this is according to the law, and the law says directly that the priority for the evaluation, for the pre-vetting, is given to candidates that are applying for the Superior Council of Magistracy and Superior Council of Prosecutors. So this is why we start with these two commissions. This is why we start evaluating these candidates. And as the expert said, we will start the pre-vetting and evaluation of the candidates for additional bodies, but not earlier. But they will be evaluated. Probably you ask this question and you are referring what is happening with the newly employed individuals, because we have open job applications and once the applicants are registered, especially I know that the Superior Council of Magistracy has a job opening, so they will send the list of candidates, as we mentioned, and the Commission will do the pre-vetting. So I have a clarification follow-up. So several judges that were proposed to be named up to the cap, some of them are candidates for Superior Council of Magistracy. It's not clear if they will be promoted from the 15 that were not approved. I understand that it will be an additional list. So what will happen with those judges that were not promoted, but they have the right to be proposed the second time? What will happen with these judges? They will be evaluated according to the procedure, and after that, according to the circumstances that will be clarified, we will provide a decision just like any other candidate. So we will provide a conclusion candidate by candidate. We don't have a separate procedure for them. It's their right to apply and to go through the procedure. After that, according to the decision of the Commission, according to the evidences, according to the circumstances, we will provide a decision candidate by candidate. This is it. But will you take into account the decision? Well, for the pre-vetting commission, it's not mandatory to take into account other decisions, other approved decisions. We have our own mandate, we have our own competencies, we have our own duties, we have our own process of evaluating the financial and ethical integrity. For that reason, we collect evidences from all the available sources: authorities, banks, civil society, even anonymous tips if they contain verifiable acts. For example, if we are told that a judge has a house in Berlin, and this is a tip and this is an information that we can verify, we will take it into account. Thank you so much. I propose to take the last question. Natalia Zaharescu, Ziarul de Gardă publication. We have institutions that have the role to verify the integrity of the public servants, including prosecutors and judges. And we have mechanisms in place. How your mechanism, how your tools are different from what we have, and what will be verified? What is it different? What is special?
I think I can answer that.
Cred că pot răspunde.
To keep into consideration here is that our assessment is a separate one, and so any other information from other authorities, any decisions that may be taken, do not bind us. Neither do the decisions that we take bind others. So this is entirely independent from our side. We look into the integrity, we look into the financial integrity of candidates based on the information and based on so many other sources, tax authority, customs, banks, private banks, etc. So all that we will bring together and we will make our own assessment under this law. Whatever other organizations or other organs may have decided in the past or the future is separate from that, so that we really have to keep that as separate issues. But maybe...
Da, și
And the difference, that was your question. We will... Well, so far, authorities were following the way that the assets should have been declared, but we will have a broader view. We will look at the lifestyle of the judge and prosecutor, the expenses, meaning luxury vacations overseas, expenses for maintenance or paying for some private expensive schools, other expenses. Everyone will have to justify those expenses, because recently Law 133 was amended and it was added to it, but so far it wasn't there. That's why our range of evaluation will be broader than what is established in the national legislation.
the law provides that if the commission fails to approve a candidate, that candidate is not eligible for appointment. So to that extent, there is a binding effect in terms of the commission's determination not to pass an individual.
Just to add something, because I was asked this question too, and that's very interesting. Why do we have a special commission? Well, we have so many other bodies. The answer is quite simple. First of all, our commission has the task and right, it's about the timeline, because we can check for 15 years period, or going 15 years back. Secondly, what I think is very important, so far authorities that were monitoring these people, they were having some narrow aspects of evaluation so far. But our commission, based on its legal provisions, has a full competence, and it has a mechanism to reconcile all information, to put it together. And this is the great difference. Because if you put together all the information, sometimes it gets to be quite interesting, and that's the difference, I think. Any more? Nu-i pornit microfonul. Sorry, the microphone is not on, if we just can. When checking assets and lifestyle, especially if we talk about property abroad, can you explain, will you have access and possibility to check on their property and assets abroad? Or at least what investigative journalists see is that the people who have integrity issues in Moldova are quite sneaky and they know how to hide their property abroad. If you are going to be able to do it, how will you do? To make sure that you will not exceed the 30 or 45 days that you have for evaluation?
A couple of aspects that we have to take into consideration, and Nadia definitely will be able to go more into the details, but I think we have to start off by the clear obligation of all candidates to provide accurate and complete information. If candidates were not to provide such information about the real estate in another country and whatever, and we were to find out that such real estate were to be there, either through investigative journalists or through our contacts with authorities in different countries, which we will definitely be exploring as well. And that in itself, of course, would be a very serious situation, and that could have an impact on the way we would assess that candidate. So I think it's a very strong message also to candidates that we do expect, and there's a clear obligation under the law, that they have the obligation to provide accurate and full information, and that any inaccuracies and incompleteness may have a serious impact on our final evaluation. But, Nadia, you want to add something or no?
Nu, de fapt, asta este
This is the key, I think, and that's probably the major difference. When we talk about a criminal investigation, the evidence requirements are much higher. You need to prove, and it is much more difficult. In case of evaluation, the standard is different, and we also speak about the doubts, and we talk about serious doubts. Neither commission. Well, of course, the commission will not use information that has no proof related to it, no evidence, but any justified doubt that the candidate cannot explain will impact the evaluation. Therefore, we will take into account and we will use both open data sources for investigation as well as information provided by authorities. And we will also request information where needed from abroad. Thank you. Also, I would like to add that nothing prevents us from making requests to the respective embassy. Of course, it depends. If we have cooperation with a respective country, I think we will be supported and they will send us the information. Sorry, there is no microphone, so I can't hear what the lady says. Please, this is really the last question. Again, the microphone is. Did you talk to the embassies? Well, let's take it once more. Did you have any communication with the embassies? I mean, did you get any understanding to see is there any openness? Because openness means also promptness.
Not at the moment yet, because we are still in that process of establishing contacts with, of course, authorities here in Moldova, but we definitely are going to be in that process. We have identified countries where such assets may be, and we'll definitely be in contact with them. And again, as I said earlier, I think it's incredibly important for candidates to be very transparent about that, because any shortcoming in the information would have can have serious complications and implications for the assessment, of course. But yeah, it shows that's a lot of work on our side to focus on that, and that's definitely part of our agenda. Yeah.
If I may add a brief comment, we also take into consideration the experience in other countries, and we are having informal discussions with former members of different vetting commissions, and we are trying to get as much as information as possible from those our colleagues that should make our work easier, and it definitely includes international cooperation component and some specificities of dealing with some other institutions as well. So we are doing our best to make sure that we collect as much information as possible, And we hope that our decisions will be thorough, detailed, and we do our best to make sure that the process is fair. So this is what we are seeking for.
Și doar vreau să
I would like to use this opportunity because we already mentioned that in our first press release, but given this press conference, we would like to remind you that journalist investigations are a very good and important source of information. That's why we invite you, we kindly ask you to submit us all information that you have. We know investigations that are carried out very well, and there is evidence, and they will be an important source of information for us. So we look forward to receive information, especially from investigative journalists. Thank you. I would like just that you can send all information to the email address of the Secretariat. You can find the email address in the press release that will be disseminated shortly after the end of the press conference. The press release will be distributed in Romanian and English. Also, I would like to thank you very much for questions. We will conclude our press conference here, but before doing that, before giving the floor to the chairperson for a concluding message, I would like to just let you know that for new information, you can check our Facebook page. This is our first press conference. There will be others when we have all members of the Commission in the country when the evaluation starts. But until then, you can ask all questions to the Secretariat and we will pass them on to the Commission.
Thank you very much, Elena. You make my task very easy by making this conclusion. But again, yes, exactly. This is the first press conference. I think we definitely are looking forward to having more of these kind of events with you. I think for us it is incredibly important to show that this process is fair towards candidates, but also transparent. I think being a judge myself in the Netherlands, I think it's incredibly important to create a system by which the judiciary and the whole justice system is being trusted by the population. I know that there are some challenges here, to put it in diplomatic terms, and I think that is definitely something that we see an incredible important role for ourselves to contribute to go upwards in terms of the increase of trust of the Moldovan population in the justice system. It's absolutely crucial. It's a difficult task, but as you heard from us this morning, we are ready for the task. We bring a lot of experience and a lot of motivation and dedication to make this happen. And we're looking forward to meeting you again in the foreseeable future. Thanks again for coming over this morning.
Thank you.